The stars look different tonight, Frank Nelson thought as he stepped onto his back porch. After 30 years as a Marine, he could feel when something wasn't right. He sipped his coffee and stared at the night sky, unable to shake the feeling that something was watching Earth. 200 miles above, something was indeed watching. The Zarkonian scout ship hovered silently, its advanced cloaking system hiding it from Earth's primitive tracking systems. At least that's what Commander Vextril believed. "Scans complete, Commander," reported Officer Kraz. "This planet's technology is at least 300 cycles behind ours. Their weapons use basic projectiles and limited energy systems. Their communication networks are primitive and easily disrupted." Vextril's mouth parts curved in what his species considered a smile. "Excellent. Another easy addition to the Empire. Begin preparations for the invasion assessment." The Zarkonians had conquered 17 planets in the last decade. Their process was always the same: find a world, assess its threat level, and apply the appropriate level of force. So far, no species had required more than a level 2 response. Earth was about to be categorized as a level 1, the easiest possible conquest. "Sir, there's something unusual about their population density and distribution," said Science Officer Mevnir, her 6-fingered hands moving rapidly over the control panel. "They appear disorganized, with no central government." "Even better," Vextril said. "Send the report to High Command. Recommend minimal forces for conquest." Back on Earth, Dr. Lisa Martinez yawned as she studied the data coming from the radio telescope array. For 3 nights straight, she had detected strange signals that didn't match any known pattern. The university considered it a glitch, but Lisa wasn't convinced. "Got something weird again?" asked her colleague, Dr. Paul Weber. Lisa nodded. "It's like nothing I've ever seen. The signals appear for exactly 12 seconds, then disappear for 47 minutes, then repeat. That's not natural." "Could be military," Paul suggested. "I called my contact at the Air Force. They say it's not theirs." Lisa tapped her pencil against her desk. "I'm telling you, Paul, something strange is happening up there." At that exact moment, Air Force Captain Eric Daniels was flying a routine patrol over the Pacific Ocean when his instruments went haywire. "Control, this is Eagle 7. I'm getting some crazy readings here. All systems flickering." "Eagle 7, weather is clear in your sector. No electrical storms reported." "It's not weather," Eric said, watching his radar screen pulse with an impossible reading. "Something just moved past me at Mach 15, then vanished." "Say again, Eagle 7. "Never mind," Eric said after a moment. His instruments had returned to normal, but he had seen something, a dark shape against the stars, moving faster than any aircraft humanity had built. In Washington, D.C., Colonel Samantha Wright reviewed the increasing reports of anomalies: radar glitches, signal interruptions, satellite malfunctions. Most officials blamed solar flares or equipment failures, but Wright had compiled enough incidents to see a pattern. "General Miller needs to see this," she told her assistant as she gathered her files. General Patricia Miller was skeptical when Wright presented her findings. "You're suggesting what exactly? Aliens?" She said the word with obvious disbelief. "Suggesting we're experiencing too many technological glitches in too many separate systems for it to be coincidence, ma'am," Wright replied. "Something or someone is testing our capabilities. Your reputation buys you 5 minutes of my time, Colonel, but I need more than hunches." At the Zarkonian fleet staging area beyond Mars, Supreme Strategist Zorlak reviewed Commander Vextril's assessment. "A Level 1 classification seems appropriate," Zorlak agreed, "though their population is surprisingly large for such a primitive species. 7 billion? "Yes, Supreme Strategist, but they're divided into nearly 200 separate territories they call countries. They spend more time fighting each other than developing unified defenses. Our models predict most will surrender within hours of our first show of force." "Very well. You may proceed with the standard protocol. Send in probe ships to test their detection capabilities, then prepare the announcement of their impending addition to the Empire." "It shall be done," Vextril said, bowing low. 3 days later, Frank Nelson noticed more strange lights in the sky. This time they moved in perfect geometric patterns. No commercial or military aircraft could fly like that. He wasn't the only one who noticed. Across the globe, social media filled with videos of the strange lights. News stations began covering the sightings. Government officials issued statements about weather balloons and test flights, but no one was convinced. Lisa Martinez hadn't slept in 2 days. The signals were growing stronger, and now she had visual confirmation from observatory cameras. "These are spacecraft," she told Paul flatly, "and they're not from Earth." The university dean was not pleased. "Dr. Martinez, if you continue making these wild claims publicly, the university will have to distance itself from your statements. Look at the data," she insisted, spreading printouts across his desk. "The movement patterns, the energy signatures. Nothing on Earth can do this." In the White House Situation Room, General Miller finally conceded that Colonel Wright might have been right. "We have visual confirmation of objects in Earth orbit that match no known satellite or debris profile. They appear to be underpowered." "Control." The president looked grim. "Options." "Limited, sir," Miller admitted. "If these truly are extraterrestrial craft, we have no experience with their capabilities. Our weapon systems may be ineffective. Then God help us all," the president said. The first official contact came without warning. Every electronic device on Earth, televisions, phones, computers, suddenly displayed the same message, translated into all major languages. "People of these Earth, your planet has been selected for incorporation into the Zarkonian Empire. Your technology and development level has been assessed as level 1. Resistance is unnecessary and will result in disciplinary measures. You have 24 Earth hours to instruct your leaders to surrender. Further instructions will follow." Panic swept across the globe. Stock markets crashed. Religious leaders proclaimed the end times. Military forces went on high alert. Frank Nelson watched the message on his television, then did what Marines do. He prepared. He checked his emergency supplies, filled his bathtub with water, and called his neighbors to form a community plan. In her lab, Lisa Martinez worked frantically to analyze the signal, discovering that it contained embedded data beyond the simple message. "They're scanning us while they broadcast," she realized. "This message is also gathering intelligence." Captain Eric Daniels and his squadron were scrambled to defensive positions. "Rules of engagement, sir?" he asked his commander. "Defensive. Posture only. Do not fire unless fired upon. Nobody wants to start an interplanetary war." On the Zarkonian command ship, Vextril watched Earth's reactions with amusement. "Look how they scurry about," he told his officers. "Like hive insects when their nest is disturbed." Science Officer Mevnir was less certain. "Commander, I'm detecting unusual patterns in their response. Their military forces are deploying with surprising speed and coordination." "Irrelevant," Vextril said. "Our weapons can neutralize their entire offensive capability in minutes. This will be the easiest conquest in Imperial history." As the 24-hour deadline approached, humanity faced what might be its final sunset as a free species. But across the planet, instead of surrendering, people were preparing. The Zarkonians were about to learn that they had made a serious mistake. Earth wasn't easy, and humans were not about to go quietly. The 24-hour deadline passed. No official surrender came from Earth. Commander Vextril was not surprised. In the Zarkonian Empire's long history of conquest, few species surrendered immediately. Most required a demonstration of force. "Begin the first wave," he ordered. "Target their largest military installations. Standard disabling protocol." Across Earth's skies, hundreds of smaller Zarkonian ships appeared, dropping out of their cloaking fields. They moved with perfect precision toward military bases on every continent. At Peterson Air Force Base in Colorado, Captain Eric Daniels raced toward his fighter jet as alarms blared. The sky filled with strange triangular craft that moved unlike anything he had ever seen. "Eagle Squadron, get airborne now," came the command over his radio. "Defensive posture only. I repeat, do not engage unless fired upon." Eric's hands were steady as he climbed into his cockpit, but his heart pounded. He had trained for many scenarios, but alien invasion had not been one of them. In Washington, D.C., Colonel Samantha Wright watched the radar screens with growing alarm. They're positioning themselves above every major military installation worldwide, she told General Miller. This is not random. Any offensive actions yet? Asked General Miller. No, ma'am. They appear to be waiting. For what? The answer came, seconds later. From each alien ship, a bright blue beam shot downward, but instead of explosions, every electrical system within the targeted areas simply shut down. Tanks stopped moving. Aircraft electrical systems failed. Communications went silent. EMP weapons, Wright realized. They're disabling rather than destroying. Frank Nelson watched from his porch as the nearby Army Reserve Center went dark. Streetlights died. Cars stopped in the road. His own house lost power. But Frank had been prepared. He switched on his battery-powered radio and began checking in with his neighborhood watch network. Years of military training had taught him that communication was the first casualty in any conflict. Dr. Lisa Martinez was working in the university basement lab when the attack began. The building's backup generators kicked in as the main power failed. They're targeting our infrastructure, she said as she watched news reports on her emergency tablet. But they're being careful not to cause casualties. That's interesting. Interesting? Paul asked incredulously. We're being invaded. Yes, but their approach tells us something important about them, Lisa explained. They want Earth intact. They're following a protocol, and protocols can be disrupted. On the Zarkonian command ship, Vexitril received the first wave reports with satisfaction. All targets neutralized, Commander, Officer Kraz reported. Minimal resistance encountered. Excellent. Prepare the second wave. Target their government centers. But Science Officer Mevnir looked concerned. Commander, I'm detecting unusual patterns in the humans' response. They're adapting more quickly than our models predicted. Explain, Vextril demanded. Their military forces are switching to analog systems. They're establishing communication methods that our EMP weapons cannot affect, and their aircraft are being manually reconfigured to resist our disruption fields. Vextril dismissed her concerns. Primitive countermeasures. Proceed with the second wave. The alien ships shifted position, now targeting capital cities and government buildings, but this time, they met resistance. Captain Eric Daniels and his squadron had quickly discovered that while their electronics were vulnerable, their mechanical systems still functioned. They reverted to basic flying techniques and weapon systems that didn't rely on computers. They didn't expect us to keep flying, Eric told his squadron over their backup radio system. Use basic tactics. Stay unpredictable. When the alien ships sent their blue disabling beams toward Washington, D.C., they were met with a barrage of missiles. The Zarkonians had not expected any effective resistance so soon. 3 alien ships were damaged before they could adjust their shields. At the Pentagon, Colonel Wright smiled grimly as reports came in of similar successes worldwide. Humans are good at improvising, she told General Miller. Our forces are adapting faster than they anticipated. General Miller nodded. But we can't match their technology for long. We need a game changer. That game changer was developing in Lisa Martinez's lab. She had been studying the patterns of the alien signals and discovered something critical. Their technology relies on a specific frequency range, she explained to military officers who had come seeking her expertise. If we can generate enough interference on these bands, we might disrupt their systems. Frank Nelson had organized his community into an effective resistance unit. Using old CB radios and runners to carry messages, they maintained communications despite the technological blackout. When alien ground forces began landing outside major cities, Frank's group was ready. These alien foot soldiers, entering Earth atmosphere for the first time, were unprepared for several things. The higher gravity that made them slower, the different air composition that reduced their stamina, and most importantly, the fierce resistance of ordinary humans protecting their homes. They expected us to panic, Frank told his neighbors as they prepared simple but effective traps and barriers. They don't understand that humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years. We know how to resist. Commander Vexatril was growing concerned as reports of difficulties came from all fronts. This is not proceeding according to protocol, he told Supreme Strategist Zorlak during their update communication. The humans are showing unexpected resistance capabilities. Zorlak's expression darkened. You classified them as Level 1. Was your assessment flawed, Commander? No, Supreme Strategist, their technology is indeed primitive, but their adaptability is remarkable. They've already found ways to counter our disabling fields. Then, move to Level 2 protocols, Zorlak ordered. No more gentle approach, show them the true power of the Empire. Vexatril hesitated. Level 2 would cause significant human casualties. They chose resistance over submission, Zorlak reminded him, coldly. The consequences are theirs to bear. After the communication ended, Science Officer Mevnir approached Vexatril. Commander, I believe we have underestimated these humans. Their technology may be primitive, but their intelligence and adaptability are exceptional. Vexatril stared at the view screen showing Earth. Prepare the Level 2 weapons, he ordered reluctantly, but target their military capabilities only. I want to minimize civilian casualties. On Earth, the first day of invasion was ending. Despite the aliens' technological advantage, humanity had held its ground, but the real test was yet to come. As night fell, Captain Eric Daniels and his squadron returned to their improvised airfield, their planes damaged but flyable. Colonel Wright coordinated global defense strategies using old radio systems. Dr. Martinez worked tirelessly to develop her frequency disruptor. Frank Nelson's community prepared for ground combat. The humans had survived the first assault, but as they looked to the skies, they knew the Zarkonians would not make the same mistakes twice. Tomorrow would bring a harder fight. What none of them realized was that they had already accomplished something unprecedented. They had forced the Zarkonian Empire to reconsider its invasion plans. For the first time in hundreds of conquests, a Level 1 civilization was fighting back effectively, and Commander Vexatril, though he would never admit it to his superiors, was beginning to wonder if they had made a terrible mistake in choosing Earth as their next target. Dawn broke over a changed Earth. The Zarkonian ships hovered in perfect formation above major cities worldwide. Their message was clear: surrender or face destruction. In her makeshift lab at the university, Dr. Lisa Martinez hadn't slept. Working with military engineers, she had built a prototype of her frequency disruptor. The device was crude, a modified radio transmitter connected to power amplifiers, but her calculations suggested it might work. We need to test it, she told Colonel Wright over a secure radio line. But we need to get close to one of their ships. Colonel Wright considered the request. I may have just the team for that mission. Stand by. Captain Eric Daniels was cleaning engine parts when he received the call. His squadron had been flying non-stop missions, using their planes until they broke, then fixing them with whatever parts they could find. Captain, we have a critical mission, Colonel Wright told him. How do you feel about getting up close and personal with one of those alien ships? Eric wiped grease from his hands. Just tell me when and where, ma'am. Across town. Frank Nelson led his neighborhood patrol through empty streets. Alien ground forces had landed during the night, 6-limbed soldiers in armor that shimmered with energy fields. They moved house to house, seemingly searching for something. Stay low and quiet, Frank whispered to the volunteers following him. We observe only. No engagement unless absolutely necessary. One of the younger men, Joe, gripped his hunting rifle tightly. We could take a few of them out. Frank shook his head. Not yet. First, we learn their patterns, their weaknesses. Wars aren't won by brave fools who die in the first skirmish. On the Zarkonian command ship, Commander Vexatril reviewed reports from ground teams with growing concern. They're searching homes but finding them empty, Officer Kraz reported. The humans appear to have evacuated many areas in advance. Impossible, Vexatril said. Our attack was sudden. They had no warning. Science Officer Mevnir spoke carefully. There is another possibility, Commander. Perhaps they anticipated our tactical approach. How could primitives anticipate advanced military protocols they've never encountered? Vextriel demanded. Perhaps, Mevnir suggested, they are not as primitive in their thinking as we assumed. This disturbing thought was interrupted by an alert. Commander, our scouts report humans approaching Outpost 7. They appear to be bringing something. Dr. Martinez held her breath as the small convoy approached the alien ground outpost. The disruptor device was hidden in an old delivery truck with Captain Daniels at the wheel. Special Forces soldiers surrounded the vehicle, ready to provide cover if needed. Remember, she told Daniels over their short-range radio, we need to get within 100 meters for the disruptor to work. Eric nodded grimly. I'll get you there. Just be ready to flip that switch the moment I say. The alien outpost came into view, a shimmering dome of energy surrounding landing craft, and about 20 Zarkonian soldiers. Their weapons were unlike anything humans had seen before, rifles that fired pulses of energy rather than bullets. Steady, Eric murmured as alien sensors detected their approach. Just a little closer. The alien guards raised their weapons. One fired a warning shot that sizzled over the truck. Now, Eric shouted, slamming on the brakes. Lisa flipped the switch on her device. Nothing visibly happened, but the effect was immediate. The energy dome around the alien outpost flickered and died. The aliens' weapons powered down. Their communication devices went silent. For a moment, both humans and aliens stared at each other in shock. Then the Special Forces team moved with practiced efficiency, quickly surrounding the confused aliens. Without their technology, the Zarkonians found themselves at a disadvantage in Earth's heavier gravity. It worked, Lisa whispered in disbelief. It actually worked. Eric was already on the radio to Colonel Wright. Target neutralized. The disruptor is effective. I repeat, the disruptor is effective. Wright wasted no time. Get that device and all data back here immediately. And, Captain, bring us a souvenir, if you can. That souvenir turned out to be a working alien rifle and the armor from a Zarkonian soldier who had been captured alive. In a secured facility beneath the Pentagon, Dr. Martinez and a team of scientists examined their prizes. Their technology is incredible, she told General Miller, but it all depends on specific energy frequencies. Disrupt those frequencies, and their tech becomes useless. Can we reproduce this effect on a larger scale? General Miller asked. With the right equipment, yes, but we'd need to get disruptors near their major ships. Frank Nelson's group watched from hiding as alien search parties became increasingly erratic in their movements. Something had clearly gone wrong with their equipment. Their perfect formation was breaking down. Their communications appeared to be failing. Something's happened, Frank told his group. Their command structure is failing. Now is when they become dangerous, like wounded animals. He was right. Without clear orders, the alien ground forces began using more aggressive tactics. Buildings were destroyed. Humans who were found were taken prisoner rather than simply scanned and released as before. Commander Vextriel faced the worst crisis of his career. How did we lose contact with Outpost 7, he demanded. Unknown, Commander, Officer Kraz replied. Their systems simply went offline, and now we're detecting similar disruptions near Outposts 3 and 9. The humans have found a way to target our communication bands, Mevnir said. This technology should be far beyond their capabilities. Vextriel pounded his control panel in frustration. They're adapting too quickly. This violates all our models of primitive species development. Hitao opened a channel to Supreme Strategist Zorlak, dreading the conversation to come. You disappoint me, Commander, Zorlak said when informed of the situation. A Level 1 civilization should not present such difficulties. With respect, Supreme Strategist, I believe we have miscategorized these humans. Their technology may be primitive, but their adaptability is remarkable. They've already reverse-engineered countermeasures to our systems. Zorlak's expression was cold. Then you leave me no choice. I am authorizing Level 3 protocols. Vextriel's breathing chambers constricted in shock. Level 3? But that would mean the complete destruction of their military capabilities. regardless of civilian casualties, Zorlak confirmed. These humans must learn the cost of defiance. After the transmission ended, Mevnir approached her commander. Sir, Level 3 protocols seem excessive. These humans are defending their homeworld as any species would. Vextril stared at the view of Earth on his screen. Prepare the Level 3 weapons, he ordered quietly. But delay implementation for 6 hours. I want to give the humans one more chance to surrender. Around the world, small victories like the one at Outpost 7 were giving humans hope. The captured alien technology was being studied at facilities across the globe. Dr. Martinez's disruptor design was being reproduced and improved upon. At a military airfield, Captain Daniels briefed his pilots on their most dangerous mission yet. Each plane will carry one disruptor device, he explained. Our target is their command ship. If we can disrupt their central communications, we might buy enough time for the ground teams to deploy larger disruptors. Colonel Wright added, This is likely a one-way mission. I need volunteers only. Every pilot in the room stepped forward. Frank Nelson's resistance group had grown. Using captured alien weapons, they now actively engaged ground forces, drawing them away from civilian shelters. They're getting desperate, Frank told his fighters, as they rested in an abandoned subway station. That means they're getting dangerous, but it also means we're winning. None of them knew about the Level 3 protocols that were being prepared. None of them knew that the hardest part of the battle for Earth was about to begin. But as humans had been demonstrating since the invasion, began underestimating their resolve would be the Zarkonians' greatest mistake. Night fell over North America as Captain Eric Daniels led his squadron toward the massive Zarkonian command ship. Their planes had been modified with salvaged alien technology, their engines muffled, their radar signatures reduced. Each aircraft carried one of Dr. Martinez's improved disruptor devices. Remember the plan, Eric told his pilots through their secure communication system. We approach from different vectors. If one of us gets shot down, the others keep going. That command, ship has to be disrupted. The 7 planes separated, each taking a different approach path toward the enormous alien vessel hovering 20 miles above Washington, D.C. In the Pentagon's underground command center, Colonel Wright and General Miller watched the mission unfold through antiquated radar systems that the aliens couldn't easily detect. Do you think they can get close enough? Miller asked. If anyone can, it's Daniels and his team, Wright replied. But even if they succeed, it's just the beginning. Dr. Lisa Martinez paced nervously nearby. The disruptors carried by the planes were her design, but she had no way to test them against a ship of that size. Theory suggested they would work, but theory and reality often diverged. The alien ship is 10 times larger than the outposts we've disrupted so far, she explained to the military leaders. We're pushing these devices to their limits. In his neighborhood command post, Frank Nelson received word of the mission. His resistance group had grown to over 300 people, armed with a mix of conventional weapons and captured alien gear. If this works, we move immediately, he told his team leaders. The aliens will be confused, their ground forces cut off from command. That's when we strike. Similar resistance groups had formed worldwide, sharing information through old radio, networks, and human messengers. What had begun as scattered survival efforts had evolved into a coordinated global resistance. On the Zarkonian command ship, Commander Vextril was preparing to implement the Level 3 protocols. Heavy weapons were being brought online, targeting Earth's major military installations and government centers. All systems ready, Commander, Officer Kraz reported. Awaiting your order to begin. Vextril hesitated, an action that would have been unthinkable just days ago. Has there been any response to our final surrender demand? None, Commander. Science Officer Mevnir approached cautiously. Commander, our sensors are detecting unusual movement patterns from human aircraft. 7 small vessels approaching from different vectors. A pathetic attack force, Kraz scoffed. Their primitive aircraft cannot harm this vessel. Do not underestimate them again, Vextril warned. These humans have proven more resourceful than expected. Track those aircraft and destroy them before they get close. But the human pilots had become experts at evading alien targeting systems. They flew erratically, using terrain features to mask their approach. 2 planes were hit by alien energy weapons and crashed in flames. The remaining 5 continued their approach. Captain Daniels gritted his teeth as he saw his comrades' planes go down. "Keep going," he urged the others. "We're almost in range." The Zarkonian ship loomed ahead, its massive hull gleaming in the moonlight. Energy weapons fired from its surface, creating streaks of blue light in the night sky. 300 meters, Eric's co-pilot announced. 200, 100, we're in range. Deploy disruptors now, Eric ordered. 5 small devices dropped from the planes, their built-in propulsion systems guiding them toward the alien vessel. The planes immediately banked away, their mission complete. They had delivered their packages. On the command ship, alarms blared. "Unknown devices approaching," Kraz shouted. "Activating defense screens." But the disruptors weren't designed to explode or penetrate hulls. Instead, they attached to the outer hull of the ship and activated, sending precisely calibrated frequency waves through the alien vessel. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Throughout the enormous ship, systems began to fail. Lights flickered, control panels went dark, communication systems fell silent. "What's happening?" Vexatril demanded as his own command console died before him. "Some kind of energy disruption," Mevnir answered, checking a backup system. "It's targeting our primary frequency bands. All synchronized systems are failing." The massive ship, suddenly without many of its control systems, began to drift. Emergency. Systems prevented it from falling, but its perfect position above Washington, D.C. was lost. More importantly, its communication with the rest of the invasion fleet was severed. In the Pentagon, cheers erupted as they received confirmation that the disruptors had been successfully deployed. "It worked," Lisa exclaimed, hardly believing it herself. "Their command ship is disabled." General Miller was already issuing new orders. "Deploy all remaining disruptors to the secondary ships immediately. Colonel Wright, coordinate with international forces. We need to hit them everywhere at once while they're confused." Around the world, resistance groups like Frank Nelson's sprang into action. With the alien command structure disrupted, Zarkonian ground forces were suddenly operating without orders, without coordination. Frank led his team against an alien outpost near the city center. "Remember, aim for their environment suits," he told his fighters. "Their bodies can't handle our atmosphere for long without protection." The battle was fierce but one-sided. Without their superior technology functioning properly, the aliens were vulnerable. Their heavier body structure, evolved for a lower gravity world, made them slower on Earth. Their breathing apparatus, designed for a different atmospheric composition, became their weakness. Across the globe, similar victories were being reported. Humans were retaking ground, capturing alien technology and pushing back the invaders. On the crippled command ship, Vexatril made a difficult decision. "Activate the emergency protocols," he ordered. "All ships are to withdraw to safe distance and regroup." "Withdraw?" Kraz was shocked. The Empire has never retreated from a conquest. "This is not a retreat," Vexatril insisted. "It is a tactical repositioning. These humans have capabilities we did not anticipate. We must reassess." As emergency systems brought minimal functionality back to the ship, Vexatril opened a channel to Supreme Strategist Zorlak. "You have failed completely," Zorlak said, his voice cold with anger. "A Level 1 civilization should not be capable of this resistance." "With respect, Supreme Strategist, these humans are not a Level 1 civilization," Vexatril replied firmly. "Their technology may be primitive, but their adaptability and intelligence have been severely underestimated. I recommend immediate reclassification to Level 4. "Level 4? Zorlak was incredulous. "That would place them just below our own civilization." "Their current technology is primitive, yes, but their rate of adaptation and innovation is unprecedented. Given time, they could become a serious threat to the Empire." Zorlak was silent for a long moment. "Very well. Withdraw your forces to Luna orbit and await reinforcements. This is no longer a standard conquest mission. If these humans are truly Level 4, then we must approach accordingly." As alien ships began to pull away from Earth's atmosphere, Humans celebrated what appeared to be a victory, but military leaders like General Miller knew better. "They're regrouping, not retreating," she warned her officers. "We've won a battle, not the war." In her lab, Dr. Martinez worked frantically to improve her disruptor technology. "Next time they'll be prepared for these devices. We need something new, something they won't expect." Frank Nelson watched the alien ships withdraw with suspicious eyes. "They'll be back," he told his tired fighters. "And next time they'll be ready for our tricks. We need to be ready for theirs." In orbit, Commander Vextril gazed down at the blue planet that had defied all expectations. For the first time in his career, he felt something approaching respect for an enemy. "Prepare a complete analysis of human warfare throughout their history," he ordered Mevnir. "If we're going to defeat them, we need to understand how they think." What neither side fully realized was that the real battle for Earth was just beginning. 3 days passed since the alien forces withdrew to lunar orbit. Earth used this precious time wisely. Scientists worked around the clock, studying captured alien technology. Military forces regrouped and prepared. Citizens rebuilt defenses and stockpiled supplies. At the Pentagon, General Miller addressed world leaders via secure video link. "Our victory was temporary," she said bluntly. "Intercepted communications suggest the aliens are awaiting reinforcements. When they return, they will be better prepared for our countermeasures." Dr. Lisa Martinez took over the briefing. "We've learned a great deal from the captured technology. The aliens, the Zarkonians, rely heavily on synchronized systems operating on specific frequencies. Our disruptors worked well, but they will certainly adapt." "So, what's our next move?" asked the president. "We go on the offensive," Colonel Wright suggested. "Right now they're vulnerable. Their command structure is disrupted. We should strike before reinforcements arrive." Captain Eric Daniels, recently promoted after the successful mission against the command ship, spoke up. "My team has been modifying our aircraft with salvaged alien tech. We can reach lunar orbit, but we need a clear objective." Frank Nelson had been invited to represent the civilian resistance groups that had proven so effective. "The people are ready to support whatever plan you devise," he said. "But we need to act quickly. Morale will fall if we appear to be just waiting for the next attack." After hours of debate, a daring plan emerged. In his quarters on the Zarkonian command ship, Commander Vextril reviewed the historical data that Science Officer Mevnir had compiled about human warfare. "These records are disturbing," he told her. "Throughout their history, humans have constantly fought each other, developing new weapons and tactics with each conflict. Their entire civilization has been shaped by warfare." Mevnir nodded. "And notice this pattern, Commander. When faced with technologically superior enemies, humans consistently find unconventional solutions. They rarely fight on terms set by their opponents. The Empire has never encountered a species like this," Vexatril admitted. "We classify civilizations based on technological advancement, but perhaps we should include adaptability and innovation in our assessments." Their discussion was interrupted by an alert. "Commander, human aircraft approaching. They've somehow reached lunar orbit." Vextril rushed to the command center. "Impossible. Their technology cannot achieve lunar orbit." But the evidence was clear on the view screens. A squadron of human aircraft, clearly modified with salvaged Zarkonian technology, was approaching. The fleet. "Destroy them immediately," Supreme Strategist Zorlak ordered via emergency communication. "They must not be allowed to approach our vessels." The Zarkonian ships opened fire, their energy weapons creating brilliant flashes against the blackness of space. Several human aircraft were destroyed, but others continued their approach, moving in unpredictable patterns that made them difficult targets. What the Zarkonians didn't realize was that the aircraft were merely a distraction. Behind the moon, hidden from the alien fleet's sensors, a larger mission was underway. 3 space shuttles, also modified with alien technology, carried special teams toward the far side of the Zarkonian fleet. Captain Daniels led the aerial assault, his modified fighter weaving between energy blasts. "Keep them focused on us," he told his pilots. "Every second we buy is critical." Inside the lead shuttle, Dr. Martinez monitored her equipment nervously. The device she had created was unlike any weapon Earth had ever produced, a fusion of human ingenuity and alien technology. 2 minutes to optimal range, the shuttle pilot informed her. Colonel Wright, who had insisted on leading this mission personally, checked her team's equipment one final time. Remember, once we board their vessel, we'll have exactly 15 minutes to reach their central communication hub and deploy the device. From his position coordinating ground operations on Earth, Frank Nelson watched the space battle through military feeds. Civilian volunteers worldwide maintained constant vigil, ready to respond to any alien forces that might have remained hidden on Earth. On the Zarkonian command ship, Vextril suddenly realized something was wrong. "This attack makes no strategic sense," he said. "These humans don't sacrifice lives without purpose." He turned to his sensor officer. "Scan behind the fleet. This is a diversion." The revelation came too late. The shuttles had already reached their target, the fleet's central communication vessel, which coordinated all Zarkonian ships in the solar system. "Boarding successful," Colonel Wright reported as her team cut through the alien hull using tools designed by Earth scientists based on captured technology. Proceeding to the central hub, the Zarkonians mounted a fierce defense inside their ship, but the human team had trained extensively using virtual models based on captured vessels. They moved quickly through the corridors, overcoming resistance with a combination of conventional weapons and reverse-engineered alien devices. Dr. Martinez clutched her creation, a device she called the Harmony Disruptor. Unlike the previous disruptors that simply blocked alien frequencies, this one would rewrite their communication protocols, creating a feedback loop that would cascade through their entire system. "We're approaching the central hub," Colonel Wright announced. "Prepare the device." On the command ship, Vextril received alarming reports. "Humans have boarded the communication vessel. They're approaching the central hub. Destroy that vessel immediately," Zorlak ordered. "It cannot fall into human hands." "But our own troops are still aboard," Vextril protested. "That is irrelevant. The security of the Empire takes priority over all else." For the first time in his career, Commander Vextril hesitated to follow a direct order. Something about the Supreme Strategist's callous disregard for their own forces disturbed him deeply. Was this what the Empire had become? Inside the communication vessel, Colonel Wright's team reached the central hub. They faced fierce resistance, losing several members in the final assault, but they secured the room. "Deploy the device now," Wright ordered as she fired at incoming Zarkonian troops. Dr. Martinez connected her device to the alien communication system and activated it. Harmony Disruptor online, beginning protocol rewrite. The effects spread through the Zarkonian fleet faster than anyone had anticipated. Ship after ship lost control of their weapon systems, life support, and engines, as the cascade rewrote their operating protocols. "What's happening?" Zorlak demanded as systems on the command ship began to fail. "Some kind of systemic corruption," Officer Kraz reported frantically. "It's spreading through all connected systems." Vextril made a decision that would change the course of the war. "Initiate emergency protocols. All ships power down central systems and disconnect from the network." This action saved many vessels from complete failure, but it also left the fleet fragmented and unable to coordinate. The mighty Zarkonian armada was reduced to individual ships operating independently. On Earth, Frank Nelson received the news with cautious optimism. "The alien fleet is disabled but not destroyed," he told his resistance leaders. "Stay vigilant." Colonel Wright and her surviving team, including Dr. Martinez, managed to escape the communication vessel before it completely shut down. Their shuttle returned to Earth as heroes. In the aftermath, Commander Vextril faced a difficult choice. With the fleet disabled and reinforcements weeks away, continuing the invasion was impossible. But Supreme Strategist Zorlak refused to consider retreat. "The Empire does not surrender to primitives," Zorlak insisted. Vextril looked at the view screen showing Earth, a planet that had defied all expectations. "These are not primitives," he said quietly. and I will not sacrifice more Zarkonian lives in a failed campaign. He opened a channel to Earth. General Miller was surprised to receive the communication. This is Earth Command. This is Commander Vextril of the Zarkonian Empire, came the reply. I propose a cessation of hostilities and immediate withdrawal of all Zarkonian forces from your solar system. The terms were simple. The Zarkonians would leave and place warning beacons around Earth's solar system, designating it as territory not to be approached by any Empire vessels. 1 month later, Frank Nelson stood in his backyard, looking up at stars that would never appear the same to him again. The alien ships were gone. Earth was beginning to rebuild. Captain Daniels, Colonel Wright, and Dr. Martinez had become global heroes. More importantly, humanity had come together as never before, united by the common threat. The captured alien technology was already leading to advancements in medicine, energy production, and space travel. Earth would be ready if the Zarkonians, or any other alien race, ever returned. In deep space, Commander Vextril's ship traveled home to face judgment for his decision to withdraw. But he did not regret his choice. He had learned an important lesson from the humans, one that the Empire had forgotten. Adaptability was more valuable than raw power. As he wrote his final report, he included a clear warning. Earth must be reclassified as a Level 5 civilization. Although their technology lags behind ours, their capacity for adaptation and innovation makes them potentially the most dangerous species we have ever encountered. The Empire would be wise to consider them not as subjects to be conquered, but as potential allies in the future.